I'm Zane with Zane Engineers Life, and we have a amazing student, Walter Stroop, in today. He's in accounting, and we're going
Yes.
to be absolutely eviscerating his resume and destroying what little bit of hope and confidence that he still has left, and see if it can help everyone else that's out there not make the same mistakes as Walter said just
Yes.
a moment ago.
I'm hoping I can broadcast my mistakes to the wider community and hopefully people can learn from them instead of falling into the same traps that I've fallen into. Hopefully this is a good learning lesson. I'm sure this will be partially embarrassing. I'm sure maybe I wouldn't put it, on the fridge of this moment, but I hope that somebody gets something out of this.
Gotcha.
Um, we'll see.
Walter, give us a quick intro. Where are you at? Where are you at in life? Where are you at in school? What are you doing? What careers are you looking after? What is your long-term goal? If you have a why, what is your why? What is your why?
Currently, so I studied English undergraduate. I got through that on a merit scholarship, a pretty hefty merit scholarship. I worked as a content writer for 5 years. Um, Basically developed content that was used by about 400,000 students. Although my nominal role was as a content writer, I was privy to a lot of conversations because it was a family business. So I learned quite a bit about the business operations from that event, which kind of started a love for business and studying about this whole game of making money. So after that, I learned that basically I couldn't make a living as a content writer. You generally get paid as an IO99 contractor, which means you're subject to a higher tax rate. There's a lot of supply and not a lot of demand for the organization. So I think, you know, it's a fool's errand to really try and make it. And potentially you get into a niche, but they can replace you in a minute. And so it's really not, I would highly suggest people, if you want to do content writing, just go do content writing. Like, see if you can make some money off of it. If you can't, move on. Don't get an undergraduate in it. After that, my current role, day job, is as a behavioral tech at a rehab for men with substance abuse issues. That's a good
Oh,
fit for
cool.
me. I'm in recovery. Um, you know, Long-term recovery. It's taken a lot to get me here, and I like being able to give back to the community that has helped me out. My employer, we get along well with them. And now I'm studying accounting at my community college. They offer a great deal in terms of the price I would pay in terms of my education. And then the return on my investment is fantastic because, like it or not, you're probably going to have to pay an accountant in your business. You may not like the fact that you have to pay an accountant and sit down with a CPA to discuss your taxes, but the tax man, I've had some hard conversations today with people about the potential consequences of the tax man and not paying the tax man and trying to cheat the tax man. So, it's a free country. You can do what you like, but I could go into this long, long list of reasons why you should really get ahead of the taxman on this one. Uh, Currently, I quite like my accounting classes. My GPA is about an 88 right now, which is not bad. I'm going to tutoring to help mitigate some of my deficiencies and time wasting habits. Um, does that give a general survey of my experience, what you're kind of looking
You're doing
for?
great, man. Just talking. Roman and the crew will grab, some cool stuff out of here.
I mean,
What is your plan though? So you're thinking about getting an accounting degree. Are you eventually wanting to get your CPA? Do you want to work in
yes.
an accounting firm and then work your way up and take it over? Or kind of what's your long-term goal here?
I think a lot of the accounting firms are predatory in the way that they're structured. They tend to be high volume. For example, I hear countless stories of people just working from 6 in the morning until 10 p.m. at night and then get paid on a salaried position. I would love nothing more than to learn from someone who has already figured out how to add value in the industry. I just will not accept working conditions that are substandard. In addition, I've managed my personal finances in such a way that I'm really not over a barrel, so I can really find a good partner and maybe provide some long-term value. I value the CPA license because it allows me, ideally, I find some hybrid between entrepreneurship and a CPA license. which you can
Okay.
do entirely through a CPA license by starting your own shop. Um, I'm in the idea exploration phase of this process rather than the pull the trigger phase because I'm realizing how completely ignorant of like, how much stuff I need to learn to get from point A to B that will make my life much easier. In terms of some business ventures I've tried in the past, there was that ed tech company, which I learned a lot from, but I've also tried to do something simple, just like I don't know, do website upgrades for small to medium sized
Mhm.
businesses. And that there's a lot of competition. I think if you really like door to door sales, that's a great, you can make a decent amount of money. But website services are rapidly becoming very elastic with lots of competition.
Gotcha.
So that's,
All
I
right,
think,
and so many thousands of paths that we can go from what you just talked about there.
yeah,
I'm only gonna hit on one, and for sake of time, then we'll jump into
yeah.
absolutely destroying a resume. For you, I'm thinking the path of working for some accountants, working for some firms, maybe even the big four, and then working your way out and finding some CPA firms that don't have a succession plan,
Mhm,
that don't have anyone coming behind, is probably a really good path for
mhm,
you. You can make a good living, you can help a lot of people, you can run things the way you want. The big one there, though, and I highly caution anyone under 30. I won't even caution. I'll just give you the advice. Don't start your own company. That's
mhm,
ridiculous. Why would you ever start anything from scratch right now? There are so many boomer businesses that have no succession plan, no one to take it over. They literally could be bought for, I'll take care of your staff and customers. Like sometimes you don't even have to give them a dollar. Like they're going to get nothing out of it anyway. Maybe you can keep the name of their firm going and keep their people working and take care of their customers. That happens a lot on the engineering side. We have guys
mhm.
that want to retire, but they're worried about their staff and they're worried about their
Mhm.
customers, and there's nobody to help them. And we
Yeah.
can help them, and it doesn't cost a dime, and we get to continue, helping people the way they were. So again, if you're under 30, even if you're not at any age, don't start your own company right now. See if there's someone else that you can partner with or help or be a part of or buy out or earn out or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And a big thing on that, even if you bought their firm, if you sell your firm for $2 million and you get handed $2 million, you're paying taxes on $2 million. But if you can give me an earnout over a long period of time, you can lessen my tax burden. You can give me opportunity to have costs that are paid for pre-tax. And you can give me opportunity for longevity and the ability that if you don't do what you say you're going to do, I can come back and take it back over and sell it again if need be. So there's huge opportunities for you to literally give those boomer owners $0 and build them a long-term legacy of money that they'll have always and can pay their bills because that's what they're
Mhm.
worried about is safety, right?
Mhm.
And you can do all of those while taking care of their customers and their staff and continuing the name of their business. So something to think about there. All right. You ready to absolutely get destroyed?
Ah, let's do it.
All right.
Rip the
So
band-aid.
as I take it, Walter is looking for an accounting job, right? Is that what
Yeah,
this resume is written
I
for?
was so I'm qualified to do behavioral health jobs. So I think the latest resume is for behavioral health.
Okay.
I sent out for 3 resumes and I got back from 2.
Okay.
So
So we have one from you, and then the other one, I guess, is from the person that hasn't showed up for the call.
yeah,
Okay.
he's not
And
showing up.
yeah, yeah,
He
probably not. Might be scared. Who knows?
no,
Or
he
may,
no,
may have the time wrong.
he just texted me that
Oh, yeah.
he forgot about it. So anyways,
Amen. Doesn't always work for everybody. Okay, so this is what kind of job would you send this in for if you were
I
applying
would
for a
send
job?
this for a behavioral health tech job.
Okay, that would be like a counselor, a coach, what would that be?
That would be the person who takes them from point A to point B at different places, can make sure the clients are basically monitors the clients 24/7, the person on facility, and just making sure nothing goes sideways.
Okay, so I'm going to pop up your resume on the screen. And what I'm going to do for a minute is I'm going to pretend I'm not me. I'm going to pretend I'm Karen in HR for a company that's hiring a behavioral science or a behavioral health job, right?
Mhm.
And so it's just whatever pops in my mind as Karen, not as Zane. Okay. Does that
Okay.
make sense for a minute? All right.
Yes.
So let's see. I'll attempt to share my screen and hit the wrong button already. So we'll try that again. All right. So I open this up. already on board. There's very little information. This person probably has very little experience. Their education's down at the bottom, so they may not have good grades. All right, let's take a look. No LinkedIn profile and some sketchy Gmail. I could check out 737 to check out their Google map and see if they're poor. And that way I know if I can, kill them on how much I offer them. Let's check it out. I'll try to zoom in here because I do have decently small font. Experience behavioral health. Okay, and I would expect 4 to 5 years of experience at least. Let's see that. Professionalism, personal recovery. Oh, actually had problems as well, so he understands. Okay, that's actually kind of interesting. As I attend school for accounting. Yeah, this dude's not going to stay around very long. So I might hire him for a few weeks or a month. But anyway, let's see what else we got. All right, so he worked full-time as a client associate. Yeah, don't really care. Worked at Lowe's. Okay, so he doesn't have experience. He said he was experienced, so he's a liar. Let's see what we got here. Oh, he's English language arts, so that didn't work out. So he had to go find a job. Student manager, and nobody cares, and is going to community college. Okay, I'm probably, I might offer this person like 10, 11 bucks an hour to empty the trash and maybe take some people on events and stuff like that, but I'm not super excited. Now, if the cover letter had been exactly what I was looking for or matched the job just right, I might give this person a call.
Okay.
What'd you think about that?
I think you can go a lot harder. I think you're holding back.
100%. And we can dig into this a little more because I was just trying to give like first impression type things. When you first look at something, what do you see? Because remember, you don't have very long to make this impression. And let's go to what the important part that we really need to hammer in this call is, Walter. What is the reason and point of this resume? What is it trying to accomplish?
It's trying to get me a job pretty quickly.
No.
Oh.
No resume is going to get you a job.
Okay.
There's only one reason for this resume and the cover letter and the email and everything else that you sent up until this point. It is to get to continue the conversation. You're trying to get them to want to speak with you. You're trying to get them to want to make contact with you to see if you're a better fit and start asking you questions, particularly about the job. That's it. That's all you're trying to do. So you don't need to show everything and you can't show nothing, right? What you're trying to do is you have to ask yourself, okay, when I look at that job and that job description, which we don't have it in front of us and we might find one later to just kind of compare. But you want to look at the job and the job description and you want to say, okay, what's the perfect profile of the person they're looking for to do this job? Kind of experience do they have? What keywords are there? What things have they done? What types of qualities of a person are they looking for, right? What kind of things, if it's a lower end job, can we look like they might could exploit to put us in place, right? So like if it's a starter job and you say, hey, I'm looking to get started in my career, you're basically acquiescing and saying, I don't have a lot of experience, but you can pay me little and maybe I can come in and do a good job for you, right? The things you might want to show there are things that you have worked really hard at. You've put in extra hours, you've gone above and beyond, all those kind of things, right? Whereas on the flip side, if this was a really highly paid, sought after counselor position that required a lot of experience, you would never want to say any of that, right? You wouldn't want to say, I have experience, and you'd want to show it. And you'd want to say, here's the 5 things this type of person needs to do well. And here's me doing it over and over and over again with great results of all the different places I worked, right? If I'm really experienced, I definitely shouldn't just have a 1-page resume, right? And most especially technical fields, I need multiple pages to describe all the different things I did and all the stuff that I've done and all the types of software I can run and stuff like that. One big thing a lot of people do is they throw their education up top, and I'm glad you did not. You're probably, as most people think, it's some stigma that you went to community college, and that's not a problem. But some people, if they went to community college or didn't have bad grades, they'll stick their stuff at the bottom and try to hide it. Okay. Whereas people who went to a great school and have a 4.0 try to put it at the front. The real question is, where should you put it? And this is where we go back to, what do you want in the job? Do you want someone who's super smart and knows that subject really well? Or do you want someone that works well with people and has a lot of experience, right? For this type job, what are they going to see? Someone that has some background in the industry. For you, you've had to recover. So that's great experience, right? You've done it yourself. So now you want to come back and help others. And I think that's something that you probably didn't hit hard enough up in your summary.
Yes.
Like, hey, I had a really tough road. I really went through a lot and I've really taken a lot to get to the point I'm at. And now I want to come back and help other people. That makes
Mhm.
me want to talk to you,
Yeah.
right? If you come in and say, hey, here's me doing it at this Foundation Stone place, like documented the client's behavior for clinical team. That's not very exciting, right?
No.
It also doesn't line up with the bullet point above it. So if I'm OCD, then I've already thrown your resume out, right?
Yes.
But how do I rewrite this to build the image you're trying to show of who you are, right?
Mhm.
If Walter Stroop wants to help people and he wants to work in this field and he's done it before and he's been through these programs before so he understands them, how do I
Mhm.
rewrite what I have here to show support for doing that? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that email and that cover letter that everyone hates to write and send is a great spot to put those things, right? Where you tell
Yes.
your story. Hey, I'm Walter. Here's where I was. Here's where I came back from. And here's what I want to do now.
Mhm.
And if you check out my resume and give me a shot, I'm absolutely going to crush it and make you look good.
Mhm.
Not a bad cover letter. Makes me want to talk to you. If I flip and open your resume and it now supports your cover letter, like if you said you're detailed and you're very detailed on your resume, if you said you're
Mhm.
experienced and you're experienced on your resume, then those things go together. It's a big thing. I was just talking about this with my son actually on another call. He's in
Mhm.
engineering at Mississippi State, and we were talking about his resume and job search and building out his LinkedIn profile. The big thing is, and let's go ahead and pull up your LinkedIn just for fun.
Yeah.
Do you
Let's go
have
into
one?
that while we're at it. Yes, I do.
All right, let's go check it out. The thing is you want all of these. Look at you, you've already connected with me. Proud of you.
Yeah, I'm noodling around with this
And
channel.
who did you get the cover model for you? Because it doesn't look like you.
Hey man, that's what the
Ah,
the
there's the
headshot is
smile. I
for.
got to bring the smile. The smile's the important part, right? All right, so let's look at this, and I'll actually, just for fun, I'm going to put these side by side for a second, okay? Do they tell the same story? And let's see. LinkedIn likes to mess with how things are done, so I'll give this a little bit more space so they can get their stupid thing on this up. All right, so if I was going to hire you in behavior health, but you're an accounting student, I can only hire you for short part-time jobs.
Mhm.
One of the things you might want to do is decide which of these you want to do, and then do a month or two where that's what you put out.
Okay.
You might even have two different LinkedIn profiles, one for one for the other, and have a resume, cover letter, answers, profile, discussion, background, experience for each, right?
Okay.
And somebody's like, oh, that's a lot of trouble. Why do I have to go to that? Why don't I just put everything? Because they're not congruent, right? Does that make sense? You're saying I attend school for accounting, but you want to work in behavioral health. Well, how long do you want to work in behavioral health? Probably not long if you're going to accounting school. See how those conflict with each other?
Yes.
So just by saying I'm a behavioral health tech and an accounting student. Now, if you said I want to be the world's best CPA for behavioral health companies, now
Mhm.
those go together. I want to work in behavioral health while I'm going to accounting school so that one day I can use my skills as an accountant and eventually a CPA to make their businesses better so that they can help more people.
Mhm.
Now I've really built a compelling story that makes you want to talk to me, right? Does that make sense, Walter?
Yes.
That you get what I'm saying?
Effect, yeah. Effective ad copy.
This is great story, right? I didn't get that over here. You cheated me,
I
right?
I've been cooking up some better ways to succinctly develop some sort of story or emotional attachment.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the stuff I do, I'll just be canned bombs, but I only have to be right once.
100%. You need the lottery ticket. You need the
Yeah.
turn on the gumball machine, as MJ DeMarco says. You
Yes.
you need the opportunity. And remember what we said in the beginning. The only purpose of this resume and this profile and that email you sent and that cover letter is to
Mhm.
get them to want to continue the conversation.
Mhm.
Because if you can get in a room with them or on a call with them, you're going to dominate it, right? You're going to absolutely crush it. All you need is to get in the room. But until you get in the room, you've got to play their game.
Yes.
And to play their game, you got to format the resume. If you send in the resume and then they want you to copy all of your job experience into the stupid fields because that way the reader can scan and, delete your resume before anyone looks at it, and you have to waste all that time doing that. If that's the game you got to play and that's the only way to get into that job, you do it, right?
Yeah.
You do whatever it takes to get in front of them to show them how good you are and how amazing you are. Now, that can go in a lot of different directions. Some foreign students have to take a U.S. name, right?
Mhm.
If your name it barely fits across an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, you probably need to come up with an American name like Sam just to get in the door, right? The thing is, once you get in the door, then you can break down all those barriers and stigmas, right? If somebody had a stigma for someone that's had to go through recovery and they didn't hire people that did that, and somehow you got a chance to show them how good you were, then you could blow away that stigma and make it go away forever. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
As I've told many of my students, I need you to be the best engineer, not the best black engineer, best female engineer, best Indian engineer, right?
Mhm.
I need you to be the best that you can be so that stigmas go away and people start looking at people as to who they are, right?
Mhm.
So let's look through this a little further. So again, I have conflict right off the top. I do like your image because it kind of supports the thought process of mental and behavioral health.
Mhm.
You might want to see if there's other things that fit in that genre.
Mhm.
So if all of the top 6 companies in whatever field you're in all have the same background, same colors, same images, steal it.
Okay.
Make a collage of them and put it in the background. It's very subtle, but it will help you in getting in the right frame of, oh, there, he's one of us, right?
Mhm.
As I come on down through here, these fit basically with what you're trying to do in behavioral health. You've got some followers and connections. That's cool. You're in Austin, so you're probably a young, hip party dude. It looks
I
like you've
was.
right? It looks like you've dealt with what you're dealing with, and you could probably flesh this out a little more into what you want to do, right?
Mhm. Okay.
I hope that I can help others achieve the same results. I wonder if you spend another minute of those and kind of led with that, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I've been there. I want to help others, and I want to do it in behavioral health, and I want to do it with my accounting skills. Here's my
Yes.
story. Hit me up and let's talk.
Mhm.
Give them a little call to action. Looks like you've been posting. I would be careful because you posted the other day about your finances, and that can make some people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It depends on the route you're trying to take with that.
Right now, I got too edgy because I got tricked by the algorithm giving me positive feedback when I got more edgy. And then I
Yeah,
woke up on
yeah,
Thursday and I was
mhm,
like, what did I just do?
yeah,
I displayed my resentments for the world. Why would you want to
mhm,
hire that person? And so
100%.
even today I had a post because I've been having conversations with people about their taxes and why, chatting with a CPA is a good idea. I had a brutally honest post, but I deleted it because it's not the image I want to project. I want to project that I'm happy. I get an affordable way to get food on the table.
Sure.
I don't want, you know, I am extremely direct. That's the people I look up to are extremely direct, but I don't think I overstepped on social media when I sort
Sure.
of commented negatively on other people's stuff, even if it's disingenuous. It's just using the platform to bully people. And really, I don't really have that much. I have some good amount of savings, but I don't have that much negotiating power here. I'm looking
Sure.
for someone to give me a shot. Like, why would you give this crazy dude from, who's been through all this stuff a
Well,
shot
and
to
it's
look at your
something to think about,
finances?
right, Walter? So,
Yeah.
and many people will be like, oh, he's selling out or he's not being true to himself. Well, I counter with that. Like, you got to survive, you got to eat, you got to have a place to live, you got to support your
Yeah.
family, and all those things come first. And once you have that foundation and that platform and that money set back, and you've proven who you are, and you have some political capital built up, then you can venture out on the edges, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you're in marketing or sales, you probably want to be out there on the edge because otherwise you don't get noticed, right? But
Yep.
if you're a counselor or a high level exec at, an HR politically driven type or politically correct driven type company, you probably don't want a lot of stuff out there. Now, I will caution, and most kids know this, don't completely scrub everything because if I can't find anything, then I know you scrubbed, right? So if there's no picture of you with a beer all the way back to when you were age 14, at all in the entire earth and you lived in the South, I would probably guess that's probably not the case. You probably cleaned it up on me, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to be perfect, but you do need to remove some stuff because remember, again, we're trying to get them to continue the conversation. That's our only goal here. So all we got to do is build that so that we can get in the room and get that first gig so that we can start building rapport and building connections because then we never have to do this crap again, right? Once you get through your first one or two jobs, I, I mean, I occasionally have to put out my resume just for like court cases and working for lawyers and stuff like that in my profession, but I've never had to do that for a job in forever, right? All they're interested in is what can I do? Do I have the skill set? Have I used that software? Have I done that type work? Do I have the PE licenses? I'm hired immediately, right?
Mhm.
So for you, we don't have to do this long, and then we can just kind of keep it updated. So it's just a piece of paper that goes along with you. So let's come back. So we had some featured posts. We talked about that. You might want to either have them be congruent with what image you're trying to build, or maybe curtail for a short period of time. You can go find the groups, like you talking in a behavioral health group and talking in an accounting group might be good because you get a window into both worlds and might figure out how to tie those two together, right? Because
Yeah.
you're kind of passionate about both, but you see accounting might be a better way to make a living.
Yes.
Maybe you can put those two together at some point. Let's cruise on down. Okay. So as I look between the two, you've used basically the same wording and the same stuff, and that's good because you want it to be somewhat congruent. Sometimes you'll see someone that talks up all the stuff they did over here and then doesn't mention it at all or something completely different over here. So again, this is where sometimes you might want to think about having everything match for a short period of time and then updating it later if you decide to go in a different direction, right?
Okay.
It's okay to have groupings or whatnot on your LinkedIn, like, hey, this is where I come from, but this is what I'm doing now. That can be okay if you're clear about what that transition was that moved you, right? Like later on, 5 years from now, you may have worked in a bunch of accounting firms and you just kind of moonlight as a counselor, right?
Yeah.
Those could be congruent and go together, and you would shift a lot of this down and then just put your new life, your new career, the new things you do in there. Let's look through. Do I match everything? Let's see. Do I have tribal core over here? I do not.
That was cut due to space on the one pager.
Yeah, yeah. Trying to get to one page. Why?
That's now that you put it out, maybe I can go on because that was what
What
I
did
was
you
told.
prepare this in? What software?
Google Docs.
Okay. And so it just happened to format the page and decide because you got a ton of space up here. You got
Yeah.
a ton of space over here. There's tons of space over here. You don't have to do bullets. You could write out other things,
Okay.
right? See how they're arbitrary. Oh, wait, so you trying to hide something? Like somebody could think that.
Okay.
That's why I say they need to be, they don't have to be perfect, but they need to be congruent. They need to go together. Yeah, it's a long time to sit for that CPA. How do you know you're going to be eligible in 2027?
Mhm. I have faith. You know.
Should be eligible. I like this stuff. Let's see. And does who you follow match up? Yeah, that seems to go pretty good. Okay. None of this is too bad. None of this gets me too excited about who and what you are. And I don't think any of it shows the awesomeness of who and what you are and what you're trying to do.
Okay.
So I would consider coming back and I'd go, okay, who's going to be looking for this? What jobs and what are they going to be looking for? And then how do I become intriguing and put them together? Right.
Okay.
Sometimes on your early jobs, it can be things that you put in your hobbies. Like if you're just out of school and you got no experience, I had a real estate license and a pilot's license, and I put those on my resume, and that's all people wanted to talk about in the interview, which was kind of
Interesting.
interesting because they already knew I could do the job because I had great grades and I had worked as a co-op and I had experience doing exactly what they did. So now they were trying to figure out me as a person and whether I fit into the culture, right?
Yeah.
So as an employer, remember, I've got to go through a couple of hurdles. And one of the reasons they have all these stupid things that you fill out online is it's a filter for the 22 zillion resumes we get every day from people all over the world that have no qualifications, can't speak the language, don't fit, don't have any of the things we're looking for. They just pelt you with resumes. And so you have to have some kind of filter to clear that out. And that's why they will post on Indeed and make you fill in your resume that you just uploaded, right?
Okay.
Because they're using a filter to look for keywords to only have to look at 1%. 1% of 10 million resumes is still a lot of resumes to read, right? So that's why they're doing that. But the next step is at some point, someone's going to take the batch that they're cool with and go, okay, let me filter through these. They'll glance at your email or your cover letter or both, maybe only a second or two, and then they'll pop up your resume. And really, they're trying to figure out who you are in the first few sentences, and then what can you do.
Mhm.
So again, this comes back if you're going for a job that requires skills and not necessarily smart education, don't lead with your education unless that's your best thing and it shows your skills, right?
Okay.
You want your best stuff first. Okay. So your best stuff in your case for your field is what you're trying to do. Hey, I've been there. I want to help people.
Okay.
Right out of the gate, that should hit them right in the face. Your second thing should be here's something I've already done to prove that I can do that. So you've already worked with patients. You really need to jam up that first one. It's not
Yeah.
built rapport with patients. It's I helped people. It's
Yeah.
I helped Bob. I helped 10 people get over this, right?
Yeah.
Really build the story. All right, I'll stop for a minute and let you ask some questions.
How much emotion should I put into this? Because I
Mm,
hear very mixed things. You hear there's a lot of misinformation. Some should be
sure.
like cold and professional. Some says like because I can definitely like the content writer role. I was the first hire there. It was a family business. I was writing standardized testing questions between classes, and then the it was delivered to my work was delivered to 400,000 people, and we got 6 figures worth of funding and a big runway to like get that off the ground. And like in terms of my data, like every person who has sat down with me and stuck with the recovery process has gotten sober. You know,
Dude,
that that's
where is that on here?
it's not on there.
Right? Where is
It's
it on
just
there?
some it's
All
just
right,
some
let me
generic
come back and
BS.
answer your question directly though. Okay. So you say they say. How many people who hire people in behavioral health have told you that?
Zero.
Okay, exactly. And who are you talking to? People that hire people in behavioral health.
Yeah.
So you have no idea what they want.
Yeah.
And anyone that tells you that they know, like that poor lady that works in college career services that has worked the same job for 25 years, has gone nowhere, and brown bags her lunch, she's going to tell you what a company wants to hire as an engineer or someone in behavioral health? Probably not, right?
Mm.
She's never hired anybody. But if you were trying to get hired as an engineer, I've hired and fired 1,000 people or more. Why wouldn't you want to talk to me? You absolutely would, right?
Yeah.
And I
That's
might
right.
not be perfect because I'm not everyone, but I've definitely seen a whole lot more of it.
Mhm.
And then I can give you information that you can use to make your own decision. And that's the key. That's what I wanted to kind of close that little thing out with there, Walter, is no matter what all these people tell you, you've got to make your own decision.
Yeah.
So I noticed you're into data. Since you don't have any data from people who hire in behavioral health, I would talk to some people that hire in behavioral health.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been trying to get a job in this field. What do you think I should put forward first? Hey, do you think I should talk about the emotion? And that might
Yeah.
actually get you a job with them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I put in my 2 weeks at the rehab I was working at just because I didn't know how much time I could commit to school versus the behavioral health. But I visited there on Tuesday, and they're like, "Hey, can you work Friday? Can you maybe work Thursday?" And I'm exceedingly, if the people in this company, I'm exceedingly grateful that you
Sure.
like working with me because I feel like it helps me grow as a person. Like, I'm not getting rich off this job, but I'm certainly a hell of a lot more focused as a result of having the job, you know. But
So
I
an
feel like,
interesting thought. Let's go down that path for just a second. So my wife's oldest daughter, she wants to be a counselor.
yeah,
The problem is the positions she want pay like 22K a year. Okay,
yeah,
well you need 95 to live nowadays, right?
yes,
So if she wants to do that, she's got to go make money doing something else.
yep,
And if it's really important to her, then she should go do that, right? Build a business, build passive income, take a job that you don't necessarily like that pays a lot of money. this might be why you're going down the accounting path and hoping to eventually tie them back together at some point, right? Maybe you can get the big four accounting job, work the 40 hours a week, and then still have 128 hours a week to help people, right?
Yeah.
So I like all the things that you're doing. I think I would sit down at some point here, Walter, and rewrite your story because you are a creative writer, right? Write
Yeah.
your story. What's the Walter Stroop story? And then put it up on your own webpage
Okay.
and start telling it to people. Put
Okay.
out a video, put it out on LinkedIn. Hey, here's who I am and what I'm trying to do. Who knows someone that can help me?
Okay.
Let me add that in right here.
Yeah.
How many people have you found off of LinkedIn and the net that do what you want to do?
I seem to be able to connect organically with CPAs just by commenting on CPAs, but in terms of like them sitting down and handing me an offer, no. So that's a gap.
Okay, so here's a couple of things as suggestions for people in your spot. Okay, if there's something you want to do, see if someone's already doing it.
Okay.
So let's do some internet detective scraping work, maybe even using ChatGPT or your own scraping programs. And let's find 25 people in the world that are doing exactly what it is you want to do. And then what you
Yeah.
want to do is two things. First, reach out to them, tell them what you're trying to do, that they've already done it, and could you get 2 minutes of conversation in exchange for some Uber Eats, right?
Okay.
Most will tell you no, but somebody might not.
Mhm.
The other thing you want to do is you want to pattern them. Okay. If you go look for a certain job and 9 out of the 10 people you found all went to a certain school with a certain degree and made a certain grade and worked at a certain place as an intern, then that's the path you should take
Yeah.
because you have a
I
90% chance of getting there, right?
yeah. I
So you
think if
want,
you yeah.
go ahead.
Sorry. If you want to work in Big Four, your GPA needs to be 3.7. Otherwise, they're just going to take your resume and put it right in the paper shredder. It seems.
Unless you can get to someone and your story is compelling.
Okay.
Maybe you can find the partner that had family members that went through one of these programs
Mhm.
and you can talk to them about what you're trying to do and how no one at the big four will give you a shot, but you know you can crush it if they gave you a
Yeah.
shot.
I was grateful a family friend introduced me to a bunch of CPAs, and I've just been peppering them with questions. I'm
Sure.
respectful of their time, but I don't know. I don't, if I knew what I was doing, I'd clearly be a lot further ahead in my career. So hence this conversation.
None of us know what we're doing ever. And that's
Okay.
the fun part of life. Because if we knew everything that was going to happen, really wouldn't be that exciting, would it?
No. Yeah.
The craziness of life is what keeps us going. Okay. So let's look at everything that we got here. So let's go all the way back and let's go back and have Walter sit down and write out the Walter Stroop story.
Mm.
What is it? Who is he? What built him? And more importantly, what is he doing next? And what does he want to do long term? Okay.
Mhm.
So that gives us a backdrop that we can write everything else against, right? Then we say, okay, who's already doing that? And can we talk to them, get a lunch or a call or something with them, and can we pattern them?
Okay.
Okay. So who's doing what we already want to do? How do they do it? How do they get there? And maybe I can follow their path. Okay. At the
Yeah.
least, maybe I can talk to them for a minute and get a recommendation or ask them if they know someone that knows someone that can help me. Okay.
Yeah.
Then sit down and go, okay, was there a pattern of that person, their keywords, their experience, and the things they had? And do I have any of that? Because I might not have all of it, but I might have some of it, right? It's back to the old joke about, hey, you don't need experience to have a job because if you did, we would have never sent a man to the moon. You
Mm.
know, it's an interesting thing to think about, but you really just need to show that you're on the path to get there. And if they give you a chance, you'll come in and crush it, right?
Mhm.
And you might even in these lower end jobs just take the job for low pay as long as it's a good experience, a good name, and you can show and prove to people that you can do it, right?
Mm.
It's the old trial offer kind of thing. I've had some students, I had an intern that got a job with me because he told me he was going to have a job with me. I was like, I don't have a job for you. He was like, I start on May 17th. And I was like,
Okay.
okay, cool. I guess you're working here now. I mean,
Yeah.
we ended up paying him, but he was just going to show up and work. He didn't care. He knew what he wanted to do, and he knew it was an opportunity. He knew he could help us as well. So he knew it was going to be value add on both sides. So he just went for it. And sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to take a chance. Now that comes back to, can you afford to live, right? Because if you've got a wife and kids and a family that you got to feed, that comes first over your own ego, right? So if you got to work at McDonald's or do whatever the hell you got to do to pay the bills, you do that first, and then you start working on the second part, which is, okay, now I've got safety and security out of the way. Now I can begin to work on building my life and doing what I want to do, right? So for you, we've written the backdrop, we've gone and found people, and we've made connections. Then we've got to start doing the canvassing for, okay, what jobs are out there? So we're going to hit everybody, right? We're going to LinkedIn, we're going to do searches, we're going to do Indeed, we're going to go to the behavioral health sites. Some of these, do they come out of county or university type jobs? Because if they do, they're listed on those sites. So that could be a place to go scrape and pick. So you're going to want to get a whole gamut of, okay, what are the job titles and skill sets that are needed? And then you're going to sit down and rewrite your resume and your LinkedIn profile to exemplify all the things that you've done that match those requirements of those positions. So if you see, oh, they're going to want to see experience in a clinic. Oh, I've worked in a clinic, and here's all the cool stuff I did. If they're going to see a background in it, any of those kind of things, you want to match those one for one as best you can. You want to check all the boxes so that if you do apply on Indeed and copy all your stuff in the boxes, you might actually get a call, right? Because you fit the profile.
Okay.
But then we're going to do the most important thing of all of this. We're going to reach out and we're going to go get our job.
Okay.
We're going to go figure out who's got our job that we want, and we're going to get in their childhood birthday photos.
Okay.
They're going to know who you are and that you exist. They're going to get a video from you every week that you post to YouTube where you're trying to help people in this field. They're going to get an updated email going, hey, I know I didn't hear from you last week, but I know I can help you. How about I just come work a week for free? You're going to be relentless, right? Because, Walter, I have a pretty good feeling that what you want to do here is very important to you.
Yes.
Right? In
Yes.
your soul and in your being, you know you must do this.
Yes.
So now you will do whatever it takes to get there. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yes.
But whatever it takes. You got to write 10,000 personalized resumes, you write them, right? See, a lot of people talk about, well, I don't want to do all that work if I'm not going to get something for it. Okay, well, if I could guarantee you that you could have the job of your dreams and all you have to do is write 10,000 individually personalized resumes and cover letters, how long would it take you to do that?
No, it wouldn't take so long,
2 days? I
It would
mean,
get done.
hell, ChatGPT could bang that out in seconds, right?
Yeah.
Put in the work because, and here's something that might help you greatly, and all those that are watching this. Okay, so if you're at the cusp here and you kind of see, because I think you see what you need to do, right, Walter?
Yes. Just,
You kind of see the path. Okay,
yeah.
so now we need to put a fire behind ourselves. So sometimes I encourage people to create a person you're going to help or a persona, right?
Okay.
For me, in my position, I have created Leader Zane. I build strong, profitable businesses. I create people who create people unhealthy, wealthy, and wise. So anytime I don't know what to do, I ask myself, what would Leader Zane do? And then I do that. Okay. Now there's another path to this. Is there one person in all of this background where you've been helping people that either you made a massive difference or you wished you had made a massive difference? Was there someone there that you were able to help or wish you'd been able to help?
I mean, I wish that the family business was solvent. I wish that sometimes you encounter clients, I
But
really wish that it took taken off.
let me
Uh,
ask a different direction for a second. So when
yeah.
you were going through your stuff, was there
Yeah.
one person that helped you and really made a difference?
Yeah. Uh, some of it I can't necessarily go into the most detail on, but it just happened to be a random altruistic person who spent an hour a day, Monday through Friday,
Hmm.
discussing how I could change my life for the positive,
Hmm.
completely unpaid. And it was just a chance encounter. And if I had not chatted with this person, my life would be incomprehensibly
Hmm.
worse. I would be institutionalized, likely permanently. So I basically, you know, I feel like the angel of death passed me over in my 20s. And some people might
Mhm.
chuckle at that, but 6 people I know died last year.
No,
It's
I mean, here's
just,
the interesting part of that, Walter.
yeah,
You were chosen for a reason.
okay,
There's something more you got to do.
yeah,
So I've been in the same spot in my life. I should have been dead 4 separate times. There's no reason for me to be alive other than the good Lord's got something I need to do.
yes,
So now I get my up and I do it every day. So for you, what I'm getting at is maybe that person had a name, and if you were just to throw a name on it, maybe we'd call it Steve. Any moment of this that you don't feel like doing the next step, you say, I've got to be Steve for this next person. Or if there's a person that you know you need to help, like my wife's daughter, we created a young girl who had been in a situation and needed counseling and needed help. And we said, you've got to be there for her. Like you've got to go get your job, you've got to go make money, you've got to be awesome in this profession so that you're there to help her one day when she needs you. Okay. That's the final piece of the puzzle to get you to do all of this because it's going to be
okay,
work and it's not going to be easy and it's going to take a lot of time and there's going to be a lot of nights and you're going to get frustrated and you're going to get told no, but you've got to keep moving because you've got to be Steve for somebody or you've got to be there to help that person one day. And without you getting in that position, you're not going to be able to do it. Right?
okay, yeah,
Yeah. Alex Hermosi is a cool thing. He was on Chris Williamson, I think, and he was talking about how you get to heaven and then they show you who you were supposed to be and what you were supposed to do, and how if they don't match up to what you did, how falling short of that moment would be the worst possible situation to ever be in, right? So
yep,
you've got to ask yourself each day, am I doing all that I can do to help that person in the future? And if not, you get your up and you go to work, right?
yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah,
You're only 10,000 resumes and 35 versions of LinkedIn and 250 phone calls away from getting the spot you need to do all this.
yep, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think of an ancestor, Walter Stroop the Fourth, and he like was homeless at the age of 13 and just sold newspapers. Just from the age of 13 onward, ran a successful newspaper shop. I've got a photo of him in my room, you know. And then basically his sacrifice ushered in several generations of economic prosperity. And like, I'm sure there's times that he was just like, I don't know the huge details of his life, but I find his story extremely inspirational and it's pretty influential in my family, I would say.
Well, and
Uh,
if you've got that picture, just put it above the old computer. And anytime you're not sure what to do next, just look up and say, what would he do next?
yeah,
And
I
then you
mean,
just do that.
candidly, I had to have some hard conversations today, and it was tough to gather the energy for this call, but I'm glad I did, and I did it because that he sure as heck had all the excuses to not make it, but he made
Uh,
it. So, F it. Here I am.
well, you're given all these trials and you're given all of these, setbacks and things you have to overcome to prepare you for something that you're needed to do later.
Yes.
Right? All of this is training and background and experience so that one day when you're needed in that spot, you're going to be there.
Yeah.
So the only thing currently standing in the way of you doing that is you. And I don't think you are going to get in the way of that anymore.
No.
I think you got this. All right.
Okay.
Let's stretch for a minute.
You got that all recorded?
Oh yeah, Roman, that's going to be sauce, dude. So you'll let
Okay,
everything
man. You
out
got
this
some
way.
good get some good content. And I look back on this. I think it'll be a fun moment to capture this moment in time. Um, yeah,
Superspreadermedia.com, baby.
yeah.
Roman's
Are
going
you
to do
posting
amazing.
it?
All
Are
right,
you
what questions you got for me, Walter? I'll give you a few minutes. Ask me some questions.
so there's what so okay, so there's the big task. Like how do I break this down into like daily KPIs to understand how if I'm actually achieving? Because I can BS myself and be like, yeah, man, and I'm not doing what I need to be doing. I kind of have gotten better at it with some
Sure.
focusing techniques, but like if you had to break it down into a KPIs, like how would you do that?
All right, so a couple routes to go there. So just backing up for a minute, make sure you end each day in thankfulness, right? Give
Okay.
yourself credit for what you got done.
Okay.
Super important. Excuse me. Don't spend time worrying about what you didn't get done, right?
Okay.
Because you could beat yourself up for your whole life, but that's not going to help, right? If you had someone that you were trying to help in front of you, you wouldn't immediately start beating them up, right?
Right.
So do the same thing for yourself at least. Like give yourself some credit. So at the end of the day, give yourself some props and some credit for what you got done,
Mhm.
and then look forward to what you're going to do the next day. And then when you get up
Okay.
in the morning, start in thankfulness. What are you thankful for? What opportunity do you have in front of you? Who
Mhm.
have you gotten to help? You know, what cool thing was done for you yesterday? Start in thankfulness. So that way you're now beginning and ending each day in positivity.
Okay.
Super important, right? Positivity builds wealth, it builds futures, it builds everything, right? If you can stay in positivity even when you're being pelted with everything that's around you.
Mhm.
Now, let's back up because I gave you some overall shells and kind of a rough outline to go through. The important thing is, what do I need to do today? What's the big thing? If there was one thing I did today that made it all go away, what is it? And I'll do that first. Okay. Now, there might be things you've got to set up, like getting your story down is going to be super important. So I think you've got to get started on that first. But it doesn't mean you can't stop and go, wait a minute. I know I've got to contact like 10 people in behavioral health, and I know they might take a week to get back to me. So I'll go ahead and do that first. I'll send out those emails real quick while I'm thinking about my story. And then I'll come back and write my story. And then maybe they'll have contacted me by the time I get back to them.
Mhm.
So that's one thing you can kind of look for is what are some things I can go ahead and start now that I'm going to need later. And
Okay.
if you know they're going to take 2 months to get back to you or 2 months to create, you want to kind of start those first, right? The other is just be effective, not busy.
Okay.
So a great thing that I encourage people to do is have a done for the day list each day. Okay. Now, many people that doesn't necessarily work because, well, I got to go to work. Okay. Well, you're going to get that one out of the way. But what's the other big thing, either at work or at home or for your career or something you're trying to do that you need to get done?
Mhm.
Like for me, I'm trying to build a local gym in the area for kids to play basketball. I need to get someone working on it. It's super important. So I'll put that as my one thing I'm going to do on the side tomorrow. I'll put a little block on my calendar to look at it and spend 15 minutes or 30 minutes on it, and then I'll get it done.
Yes.
So there is no necessarily step by step, but you know that your end goal is to get a good paying job in this profession, to get great experience as an accountant. So maybe you can put the two of them together.
Yes.
So if what you're doing at the time doesn't support that, then you don't need to be doing it.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
The other, remember you have 168 hours and not all 168 have to be worked on this. You're going to need to sleep some. You got to take care of yourself. You've got to keep your relationships going. You've got to pay the bills. Maybe you've got to work extra jobs or side jobs to pay
Mhm.
stuff and put money away. Um, you've got emails to send out. You still want to help at the clinic so you can keep building your resume and adding stories.
Mhm.
So I think just make sure that you're, for the most part, working toward your end goal.
Mhm.
If at any point you get overwhelmed, then just back up for a minute, pull out a piece of paper or computer or whatever you're best at brainstorming on. Sometimes it's speech to text on my phone and just dump your brain. Okay.
Mhm.
This is the old Tony Robbins RPM method. You get a list, you dump your brain, you get it out of your brain. So now you can think clearly. Okay. Then you chunk those down into groups. Like you might have 5 or 6 things that are all related to doing something with my finances. Okay. Well, they're in my finance block. And I will put a block of 2 hours on Thursday to work on my finances, and then I'll just bang those out one after the other.
Okay.
So brainstorm, group, and chunk, and then try to find the ones that matter more than anything. All right.
Okay.
You got 5,000 things on your list, but one of them changes everything. That's probably the one you should put the most time into tomorrow. Just block a chunk of time on your schedule and work on that. That makes
Okay.
sense? Block
Yes.
schedule is super, super effective. So like if you have to work 8 to 5, well, that's a block. Okay. But
Okay.
then what are you going to do next? Maybe I go to the gym for an hour and then I come home and I send out emails and write my story. So I'm
Yeah.
going to spend 2 hours working on getting my career on Monday night, 3 hours on Tuesday, 8 hours on Saturday. Like you just block them in.
Okay.
And then just be really diligent to those blocks. If you said you were going to do it that hour, don't blow it off.
Okay.
Now, like for me, my schedule has rough blocks for the week, but as you can imagine, owning multiple companies and doing all these things, my things get torpedoed a lot for something suddenly more important. So I will let things shift throughout the day, but then I'll just spend extra time that night making sure I get it done.
Okay.
And sometimes I have to let things go, right? Like sometimes I don't get to watch NCAA basketball. I have to write proposals, which is what I was doing on Sunday, right? Sometimes you've got to take the moment and miss that one thing to do something that's important because that's exactly what Walter the Fourth did, right?
Yeah. The first
I
one.
bet
Yeah.
I bet he had some days where he didn't get to do what he wanted to do, but he did what he needed to do.
Yeah.
And I think if you can finish each day again with your done for the day list, like if you accomplish the one big thing that needed to be done that week on Monday, give yourself some credit and take the rest of the day off. Like you accomplished it. Finish that day in prosperity and giving yourself props and confidence, and then start the next day in thankfulness that you got it done, and then start working on the next block, right?
Yeah.
If you've got extra energy or you fill those spots, because some days of the week, well, when's your power hour? Everybody has a power hour during the day. Some people work best at 1
Afternoon.
a.m. Some people work best in the afternoon. What's your best time?
Afternoon. 11
Afternoon.
to,
What
yeah.
time?
11 to 2.
11 to 2. That's your power hour. So
Yeah.
religiously protect that.
Okay.
11 to 2 every day, you will work on the most important thing that it takes to work in this field to do what it is you want to do. You will do nothing else. You will eat before, you will exercise after, you'll call people back, whatever it is, right? Like protect those 3 hours more than anything and just absolutely crush it in those 3 hours. And you'll find that you'll probably get 25 hours of work done from normal people in your 3 hours because you'll be focused, you'll be effective, you'll have a reason you're doing it, you'll have the little picture of Walter, you'll have a name of who this person is you want to help. All those things will be up there to keep you driven during those 3 hours to absolutely crush whatever's next. Now, if at any point you run out of, oh, I don't know what to do, then I'm sure there's busy stuff on the list, right? One of the things we wanted you to find 25 people. That can be done at any time of hour or day or night, right?
Yep.
Fill in with all those other things that are on that brainstorm list that you didn't get to yet, right? I have an Excel file that's got like 400 tabs that I've put in there over the years that I still need to get done, right? Like 5 or 6 companies ago, I probably still have a to-do list. And one day I'll eventually get back to that tab, right? And it'll be there waiting on me and I'll get it done, but I haven't got there yet, right?
Yeah.
And that's super important. So a couple of key books. So Getting Things Done is a really good book. Tony Robbins' RPM method and Time of Your Life program is really good. Atomic Habits is really good. And then Deep Work is another really good. And if you kind of put all 4 of those together,
Yeah.
they basically say dump your brain to get it out so you can clearly think, chunk and categorize, block in the most important things and work on those first, protect your power hours, and then just be, really effective, not busy.
Okay.
Basically, that's what all of those say. And if you can do that, you just every day, just make sure you move. Remember, if I get 1% better every day, I'm really, really good at the end of the year, right? Not many people are 365% better at the end of the year. But it only takes 1% a day, right?
Yep.
Just keep stacking wins, keep building the confidence. And I'll end with what you were saying a minute ago about Walter the Fourth. So Ed Milet has a really cool thing he talks about. He's a big Matrix movie fan. And he talks about if you study people in history, the rich, the ones that have really done something, the people that changed the world, in every single one of those families, there was one person that made it all happen, that changed it for everybody else coming behind them. You said that's already happened in your family, right? The
Yep.
fourth really made this happen and was the one. Well,
Yep.
Why not you be the one as well? Why not you now take it to a level that it's never been at? Why not you become the one that makes it transcend from now on, right? The one that gets $1 billion in wealth and builds a chain of behavioral health clinics with massive accounting CPA firms funding them that changes the world for everybody.
That's fun.
I'll give you a minute to take a few notes and look back through your stuff and ask me one more question, and then we'll get the hell out of here.
Mm. Will this be posted publicly so I can look back on it? Or will it be private?
It will probably end up in long form on YouTube. It will end up in shorter forms on TikTok, LinkedIn, and everywhere else.
Mhm.
Roman's famous for going in and finding a little chunk where I look like a complete asshole and then posting that on TikTok so everybody just rains hate and fire on me. And I love it because that gets, eyeballs to the channel. Like, I
Yeah.
don't mind people thinking I'm an idiot, whatever, as long as it helps people, right? I've got one TikTok with like 1 million views because he made me look like I was hating on HR. So everyone on earth came and argued for like a month. The funny part is I was in Europe traveling and didn't know it for like a week. He hit me one day. He was like, "Wake up, you're famous." And people were just absolutely destroying me. I would appreciate anyone who's watching this go on any of those TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and argue with me, like hashtag OK Boomer me.
Okay.
Tell say that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of, like whatever. Just get us some conversations and arguments going so
Mhm.
people see, right? Because the algorithm likes discussion, and it will give us more eyeballs.
Mhm.
Even on LinkedIn as well. If you're on LinkedIn and you see one of my posts, the algorithm right now, you need to comment and then hit the like button. And
Okay.
that's like a 5 times boost versus just liking. So throw that comment in there. All right, what you got? Notes? Last question. You crushed it, by the way.
That's pretty
Aaron,
much.
Aaron didn't do as well. Aaron sucked, so he ain't showing up.
He's got places to be, things to do. He's a busy man, you know. But thanks for having me. This has been great. Big
Sure.
mood boost.
I think you're going to do great. I mean, you're already ahead of most because you're actually putting in the effort. Just reaching out, being on this call puts you in the 5%.
Okay.
So give yourself some credit, right? You're a lot further than you probably give yourself credit for. But that also means you got a lot further to go.
Yeah.
It's like the smarter you get, the dumber you
Yeah.
realize you are. Same thing here. The more you get done, the more you realize you need to do.
Yeah. I'm just happy I made it through my 20s in one piece. I'm 29 now. It's a miracle
Right?
that I made it through.
Well, again, there's a reason, okay? There's a reason you're here. There's a reason we had this call. There's a reason you had to go through all this. There's
Yeah.
someone you've got to help at a key point in there and your life. So you need to get ready.
Yeah. And I think
Prepare yourself, be in place, find a way to make this happen. There's a lot of people out there that need your help. There are so many people right now in such a bad place, and they just need to know that someone cares and someone's thinking about them, and that it is possible, and that there is a way to make it, and it's going to be okay. And we've got to get out there and tell them this.